the dental podcast
where real people,
real stories,
and real life come together.
This is the Life and Dentistry podcast.
What's up, everybody? So on today's show, we had Craig Cody, who is a dental CPA. So we had some really awesome discussions with Craig on the episode about his transition from being a police officer to a dental CPA, some pitfalls that young dentists can avoid when starting their careers, and why it is so important for us as dentists to have a CPA that you can trust, especially when you are getting ready to purchase your own practice, and a whole lot more. Now, this was an awesome episode. I think you all are really going to like it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Have you ever had sake?
I had it with you. That was the only time I ever had it.
Yeah, at the
sake's good.
The hibachi restaurants, and they like squirt it in your mouth.
Oh yeah,
you can handle.
Oh yeah,
Cole loves stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's like Cole's deal. Anything they'll squirt in his mouth, as much as he can handle, he'll do it.
Oh man.
No, hey, I was walking past it though, and I like it warm better than cold. So I got it in my coffee mug here, and I'm just gonna sip on sake.
Sip on some sake, man.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're at. We have a freaking awesome show. It's been in the works since probably September. Dental CPA Craig Cody from New York is joining us tonight to talk about a little bit of taxes, a little bit of things dentists need to watch out for, how to save some money. Welcome, Craig Cody, to the show.
Oh, guys, thanks for having me. Really psyched.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Hey, you know, I can hear a very thick New York accent. I'm guessing you're probably not from Mississippi.
No.
Or Georgia.
Yeah.
he probably recognized the same thing with me. So
are you from New York City?
I'm originally from New York City, but I live outside the city right now.
Okay.
You do?
Where in New York City?
I live in Roslyn, which is about 20 miles outside of Midtown Manhattan.
Okay. 'Cause my dad's from Buffalo, and that side of the family, I mean, they've got an accent, but there's something different about the New York City accent.
Very different. Very different.
Yeah.
That's about a 9-hour drive from here.
Yeah.
Without traffic.
Well,
Yeah.
so Craig, you were a New York City police officer, but kind of before your CPA career, right?
Yes, that was my first career. I did that for 17 years.
And that was your dad was a police officer as well, right?
My dad was a police officer. I followed in his footsteps, and my son is also a police officer, so he followed in mine. He's third generation.
that's awesome.
awesome.
We
Yes.
appreciate your service.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Yeah, got a lot of respect for police officers. I'm sure it's a little bit different than it is down here in little small town Tennessee. So what was the transition from police officer now to CPA? You have your own business?
Yes, I do.
Craig Cody Company. What was that? So what was that like?
Believe it or not, the transition was interesting because when I first made the transition, I was actually working part-time in a CPA firm. So I was working by day. I was making copies because I was a new young guy. And by night, I was a platoon commander with like 50 to 75 people that I was turning out. Mm. So it was really different, and it was a good transition. I guess I kind of got my feet wet, and it's been full steam ahead.
So you actually, when you were in college, you got a degree in economics, right?
I went to school for 3 years. I was an economics major, and then I left to join the police department.
Okay. So how did that work out? I mean, obviously your dad was a police officer, but go to school for economics and then end up as a police officer and then back kind of in the economics field.
Well, kind of where I was from, the area I was from on Long Island, we pretty much all went into civil service. So it was kind of just the thing you did, you took the test, and then 3 years into college, I got called and I was like, oh, geez, I can make $50,000 a year. By the time I retire, I'll be set. And,
Yeah.
And so I did it. I had a great run, made a lot of great people. I don't regret it. And I learned a lot of good skills.
Yeah. So you would have been out right before the World Trade Center attacks happened.
A year before I got out, luckily.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, did you have people in your position that ended up passing away from that or anything? I mean, do you look back and think, man, that could have been me? Or
Oh, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, people are dying now every day of World Trade Center related cancer. So,
Oh, wow.
Those are
it's
things
just-
I don't even think about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You
no,
kind
it's
of
like,
forget about the
sad.
cancer
Yeah.
part of that.
it's like the clusters and the rates of cancer, and anyone that worked down there is like, now they're finding it in a school that's down there. The
Wow.
kids in the school now, are all probably in their 30s, and they have a really high rate of cancer.
So what are they linking that to?
I'm sure
Dude.
it's just the air. Whatever it was
Yeah.
in the air.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many guys I know that have come down with throat cancer, brain cancer.
Oh wow. Golly.
Young guys. So it's
That's
terrible.
crazy.
It's
It is terrible.
Sad.
But we're so thankful for men and women who sacrifice like yourself every day. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So Craig, you're in the CPA business. You're a CPA. You also have some different certifications we can kind of talk about. Ultimately, you're on a dental podcast right now. So your kind of company, we've been in contact, and ultimately you work with medical professionals. What's different, and how did you get into helping medical professionals in this business?
So in my book, you guys all run a business, and while dentistry is dentistry, when you get to the business part of it and taxes and operating and doing the things that are right to save you taxes, not that much different than other professionals. I mean, there's those nuances, but you guys are running a business, and you need to figure out ways where you could keep more of what you make.
Typically, are you working with really established, people in their offices? Do you work with any younger dentists with a lot of student debt, maybe that are actually employees right now trying to get a practice and working with them with their taxes as well?
Well, pretty much people come to us when they're either about to buy a practice or about to go, solo, or they've been in a practice for a couple of years, and they're kind of not happy with the communication they're getting from their current CPA, and they're looking for some more help.
Okay.
Somebody that's going to give them some guidance.
So do y'all do you work with a lot of younger dentists that maybe out a year or two and looking to buy a practice, pretty much right after school? I mean, is that something that y'all are working with?
We haven't worked with a lot of dentists that are just looking to, we've talked to dentists where they're currently working someplace as a W-2 employee, and they want to do something down the road.
Yeah.
And we kind of have conversations with them, but we don't work actively with them because we can't, until they're actually ready to get into it, we can't provide them with a lot of value.
That's right.
So let's kind of do a scenario here, because most of our listeners are kind of in the same spot I'm in. And for one, right now, besides CPA wise, I don't have a CPA. I mean, we have someone do our taxes. I don't personally have one. I know I need one. Here's my situation. I'm an employee right now, and in less than a year, I'm going to be a business owner. Okay. I have a lot of student debt, and I have a decent sized income right now, one that I've never had before. What are things that for a fact I'm going to trip up on probably and lose money this year that maybe a CPA could help me see, oh, you should do this with your money instead of do this right now?
Well, as a W-2 employee, there's not a whole lot of planning that you could do, unfortunately. So for you, it's basically, put as much away into your 401k as you can. All right. If you have kids, and you could do an HSA, a health savings account, or a flexible spending account, do those kind of things. But there's not a whole lot of planning other than, okay, let's think about, you're ready to buy this business, or you're going to start from scratch. What type of entity should you have? What's going to really work out the best for you? Okay. What expenses are deductible and what's not deductible? Those are the conversations you want to have, because when you start moving forward, you want to know what you can do and what you can't do.
I've heard for W-2 employees I know some people try to become maybe independent contractors instead of doing that. What's your experience on those kind of things?
So we see that a lot, and while I can help that independent contractor a lot, okay, from the dentist, the practice owner's perspective, at some point the IRS is going to come in and they're going to put the kibosh on that because, there's a whole set of rules that you have to follow if you really are an independent contractor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard to follow those rules if you are controlling when the person works, where they work, and stuff like that. So it's more of an issue for the practice owner than the independent contractor.
Okay.
But we like to make sure everybody's aware of, hey, this is the deal. It won't really affect you too much if something happens, but you should just be aware of this.
Okay.
And we see that a lot more in the big corporate dental practices, versus the, individual owner that might have a couple of practices.
So,
Okay.
Craig, what would you say are a few things? Again, a lot of our audience is new dentists or about to be new dentists. In our situation, let's say we are about to transition into ownership. So right now we may be an associate or a resident and looking at purchasing a practice. What are some things you would say to be prepared for tax breaks or whatever it may be as you're moving into ownership, to have some things lined up that will put you in a better situation than if you didn't do those things?
So some of the things you want to look at is, okay, what type of entity should I be? That's probably the biggest mistake that people make, because they talk to the attorney says do an S corp or do an LLC, and they don't really kind of think about, okay, what kind of tax planning should we be doing, and which entity is best for us on the tax planning wise. So that's the big thing. Figure out, okay, should you be an LLC? Should you be an S corporation? Can you make an election? Are you an LLC and make an election to be taxed as an S corporation? What way do you want to go about it? Okay. And which is going to be really tax efficient for you. So you want to have that conversation. So, okay, all right, I'm going to be this. And then you want to look at if you're buying a practice, what are you actually buying? What part of that can you write off? How fast can you write it off? Because those are what we call non-cash expenses. So you get a deduction for them, but you've already laid the cash out when you bought the practice or you financed the practice.
Mm-hmm.
Is the interest on the practice, is that deductible? How much interest is that going to be? I get questions all the time like, okay, I'm taking continuing ed, or I want to go to a conference. Can I deduct that? Of course, yes, you can deduct that. So those are a lot of the questions I get. And then the mistakes I see are when people have bought the practice and, there's a portion of when you buy that practice that goes into let's call it the equipment. And then the difference goes to something called goodwill. And sometimes we find out, and you get to amortize that over like 15 years, and we see nobody's amortizing it. So could be a big number too. Yeah, that's a missed deduction.
So these things that, kind of going back to the first thing you said, finding out what kind of entity you want to be. How do we find? We don't know anything, much about this besides dentistry. We do dentistry. We went to school for 8 years to be dentist. How am I going to decide what kind of entity I am? Who do I talk to?
Well, right. Exactly. I don't expect you to know that, but I expect you to be able to have a professional that you deal with that's willing to communicate with you, because you're going to have a ton of questions. Okay. And, you don't know what you don't know, and you want to be able to have a back and forth with somebody that's going to give you those answers and also going to ask you those questions to elicit the different things that he needs to know so he can serve you best, or her.
So Craig, for potential, I guess, tax breaks and benefits as far as that goes, I don't know if you'd be able to answer this question or not, but can you tell me, let's say I was going to go out and look at purchasing a $250,000 practice. It's got a lot of growth potential. It's a smaller practice. It doesn't cost as much versus a $900,000 practice. It's a bigger practice. Somebody told me recently that for tax purposes and for other financial reasons, it's more beneficial to purchase a practice that is worth a lot more than buying one that's worth a lot less and building it up. Do you have any insight on that as far as taxes goes or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd have to run the numbers really to see
Yeah.
where it works, because obviously it's cash flow is nice. If you're
Mhm.
buying a practice with a lot of cash flow, and you're going to, as far as tax breaks, you're going to write that what we call goodwill off over 15 years. So you're not going to get a huge deduction that's going to, make a big difference in your taxable income. But you're probably going to have a much bigger loan. And then when you look at that smaller practice where you'll probably have a much smaller loan, and then you could see maybe the small practice, the equipment is probably not worth that much.
Mhm.
All right. And maybe the bigger practice, the equipment's worth a lot more. So you have to kind of run the numbers. I don't think anyone can
Yeah.
really make that blanket statement that one
Okay.
is necessarily
That's what I was
more
thinking.
efficient than the other.
Yeah.
And you want somebody that's going to go through that with you, okay? Because it's a relationship, okay? And it should be a long-term relationship.
So
Yeah.
how do you find good people to bring as part of that team to have that relationship with that you can trust and that are qualified?
Well, I mean, if you're working with somebody, and you have a relationship with that person, are they communicating with you? Are they willing to communicate with you? Are they coming to you with ideas? I kind of always say, when was the last time your tax guy came to you with an idea to save you taxes? All right. If he's not being proactive like that, and he's being really good, he's putting the right numbers in the right boxes, but he's recording history versus helping you make history, maybe you want to look someplace else. Where do you find them? Referrals, okay, podcasts. People typically, don't go into the old yellow pages, all right, and pull an accountant out of there or a CPA, but people, YouTube, podcast. There's a lot of people out there that you can kind of get a feel for how they operate. You can see what's going on. I mean, the internet's a wonderful thing.
Yes,
So do you see the benefit in finding a CPA that is local versus, just finding somebody online, like somebody you can actually go meet face to face?
We deal with, just from my experience, we deal with people across the country.
Okay.
Sometimes it's actually more efficient to have these kind of meetings than somebody getting in their car and traveling an hour to sit down and have a meeting.
Yeah.
And you could do these much more frequently, and they could be much shorter. I mean, we typically schedule meetings once a month. All right. I couldn't do that if I had to drive someplace and have a meeting. So, but you have to do what you're comfortable with.
That's
if
true.
if you really feel you need that guy sitting across from you, then you should find somebody, where you could have that guy sitting across from you.
So kind of to get into some of the meat of taxes and things, what are some of the big write-offs that you see dentists are missing when you start working with dentists that own their own practices?
So I have my book, okay, that I'm going to offer you guys, your listeners, for free.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
It's the 10 most expensive tax mistakes that cost business owners thousands. So one of them we've talked about, which is basically, the entity, wrong entity. Another one is not planning. Then we get into medical insurance, meals and entertainment. How about the home office? All right. And then people say, well, the home office, well, I'm already writing off my real estate taxes or my mortgage interest. The big thing about the home office is it opens the door for other things, such as now your travel from your home office to where your other place of business is now fully deductible. Okay. It also opens the door for what we call the home athletic facility, which could be your gym or your pool that's at your home and is available to you and your employees and their families. So those are the big things that opens up. So retirement plans, it's important, as a business owner to put money away, so those are a couple of things. And then a big thing, like I said before, we see missed is with dental practice is depreciation and amortization. All right. Not amortizing that goodwill when they purchase the business, and not depreciating assets correctly. So they're spending the money, but because people aren't communicating, and they're probably, when they are communicating, it's the wrong time of the year, like tax season when the guy is probably really, really busy, things are getting missed. Another thing we have is, you probably never heard of this, is it's called the domestic production activities deduction. And that we see all the time is missed in dental practices. And it came about, it's probably maybe 8 or 9 years old, and it's for manufacturing. But there is a lot of dentists that manufacture crowns.
Mm-hmm.
And this deduction can be, might be a $6,000 deduction on a fairly new practice. But as you grow, that deduction, turns into bigger and bigger dollars. And, when you're rocking and rolling in a practice and your taxes are close to 50%, every dollar counts.
And Craig, what was that called again? About domestic
production activities deduction.
Okay.
What about buying a brand new boat and having your accountant come do some water skiing with you every night?
Join a boat club.
There's ways to make it work, huh?
It's a lot cheaper.
It's a lot cheaper.
And it's no headaches. You just pay for gas and you go home.
Yeah.
That's very good. So once you have this relationship established, how often do you meet with your clients? How often should I be meeting with my CPA as a practice owner throughout the year?
We schedule our meetings every month. We send out a link, all right, and they pick a time that works for them. Sometimes they pass on a month, sometimes they don't. But you want to have a back and forth, because just by communicating, you'll find out, okay, the client's doing this or the client's doing that. I once had a client that it turns out he had a commercial building and he had just sold his house. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to put an apartment on here, and then in 2 years, I'm going to sell this, and I'm going to get that $500,000 deduction again. I'm like, whoa, no, it doesn't work that way. Mm-hmm. So that I would have not known that until it was too late if we weren't communicating on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to take an hour of your time and his time, but communicate, let him know what's going on, let him ask questions, ask him questions.
What are kind of more the details of what those meetings are like on a monthly basis? I mean, is it more, what are you planning to buy, or what have you bought? Or, I'm thinking about buying this, even if it's a car. I mean, what's the best way of me to doing this, or what?
So they typically start with going through the P&L, profit and loss, and the balance sheet. All
monthly?
Right? Monthly.
Okay.
Monthly.
Okay.
And then from there, it leads into whatever, some clients are putting, we call it a sinking fund. They're putting money away to buy a piece of equipment in a year or two. All right. So then clients will say, well, you know what? I'm going to buy a truck, or I'm going to buy a electric vehicle. I had a good year. I want to spend $100,000 on some new Tesla truck. And,
I have a patient that just bought one like 2 months ago. He was showing me the app. Yeah, those things are cool. Anyways.
So you have that conversation, you kind of go through, okay, well, this is what it's, this is what it really is going to do as far as taxes. Are you buying this for a tax deduction, or are you buying it because you want it? Mm-hmm. Then you have clients that are buying a house and they need some guidance as far as, the financing, how much do they need? And then, I need to get this stuff to the mortgage broker. Can you help me out? And you want to, you want the dentist to be able to run his business and not have to worry about the accounting and tax end too much. You want to keep him posted, but you want to let him make his money where he makes his money.
Okay. I know a lot of the questions we're asking isn't necessarily in depth about taxes, but I think they're kind of relative to where I'm at in my situation, and probably people can relate. So at what point do I need to be seeking out a specific kind of CPA to work with on a regular basis as I start to purchase this practice that I'm going to purchase? Because right now I don't have one. My wife even made the comment today, oh, we have someone that does our taxes. Do we really need a CPA? What's your response to something there?
So once you're ready to start moving forward and really seriously consider purchasing a practice, you should be looking for that person that's going to be part of your team. All right. So, and that's somebody that's going to be willing to work with you, okay, and give you the guidance you need to actually get into that position where you actually open the doors.
Help us go through that screening process of finding that. We're talking about a CPA here.
Right. So you're going to go from referrals, other people all right? You're going to go from maybe some podcasts. You're going to go, maybe you'll ask the guy that's currently doing your taxes, listen, I'm going to be opening up a practice. Can you help me, or do you know somebody that can help me?
Well, are there certain criteria or credentials that you guys have that separate the good from the better from the best?
Well, unfortunately, no, not in the real world. All right. I'm a CPA. I know plenty of people out there that might be enrolled agents that can run circles around some CPAs that I know. But you want somebody that, obviously being a CPA is recognized as the highest authority when it comes to accounting and taxes.
Mm-hmm.
But you want somebody that's knowledgeable, somebody that's going to help you. And so they don't necessarily, have to be a CPA.
I know there's a lot of people out there that advertise as strictly dental CPAs. Is that something that I should be seeking out, a dental CPA, or is that just a niche that they kind of fell into?
That's a niche that it might be a marketing niche, and maybe they only deal with dental practices. My view is, what, I want to be well-rounded. I want to know what else is out there, because my dental clients, they turn into real estate investors,
Mm-hmm.
and they may get into other businesses and stuff like
that. Point.
So I want to be able to give them all that. And in my practice, we have a team. I have 3 other CPAs in my office. So we're pretty well-rounded. It sounds great to be a dental CPA. All right. If that's what you want, that's fine. But I think, having somebody that's got experience to a lot of different parts out there is a really good way to go.
What are some questions that when I'm talking to, maybe I've got 2 or 3 that I'm talking to in this area that have good reputations, questions that we could be asking to kind of find out, okay, are they really equipped to handle what I want to do moving forward, business-wise, or are they kind of not there?
So how do you interact with your clients? All right. Tell me what the typical process is when you take on a new client and as you work with a new client.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if you're not there? Everybody says they have the best customer service, but you want to know what happens when they're not there. Is it just them? Okay. Which is fine when you're just starting out if it's just them. But when you get to a certain point, you want to have somebody that has a team behind them, because that guy's going to go on vacation. You may need something. There is no real world accounting emergencies, but you know what? Do you want to wait 2 weeks for the guy to come back from his trip to Italy? Probably not.
Yeah. So what's your team like?
Our team, we have 10 people. So every client of ours has a bookkeeper that's assigned to them, and then they have a CPA that's assigned to them for the day-to-day stuff, and then I oversee everything. And on our monthly calls, it's typically me and a CPA with the client. So like I said, everybody says they give great customer service and great customer experience. We do that, but we have a team approach. So if I'm not in the office, okay, the other CPAs in the office, and we have the bookkeeper in the office, and we have support staff. So, and you want somebody that's going to get back to you in a reasonable amount of time. All right. So he may not get back to you if you call him at 7:00 on a Friday night. All right. But, if you call him Friday morning, you want to hear from somebody that day.
Mm-hmm. That's right. What are fees? Like when I'm looking at a fee for a CPA.
That's exactly was my question.
Yeah, you come in and steal the thunder, buddy. You keep eating chicken wings.
Well,
that was it.
I kind of say if it's a good CPA, don't look at his fee as an expense. Look at his fee as an income item. Because when you hire me, okay, I'm going to save you a lot more money than I'm going to cost you. So you may pay X to some guy that's going to fill out your taxes. All right. You might be paying me 10X, but I'm going to save you a lot of money. So net, you're better off paying 10X than you are X.
That's very true. Are there certain things like I've not been into this realm yet working with one as a business owner, but are there certain fees that some try to get you with that you should watch out for when you're working with a CPA, or I don't know how that business works?
No, I mean, there's the flat rate, which we follow the flat rate model. Okay. And there's the hourly model. So I want my clients to know what it's going to cost them every month. Right?
Okay.
They could budget that. But there are people out there that do the hourly model. So you're worried. What happens when you're on the hourly model is, do I really want to call them? Do I want to talk to him today? Because it's going to cost me money.
Yeah.
So I like the flat rate model. We've been doing that for probably about 7 years, and it's worked out well. Our clients like it, and it keeps the lines open.
Is your flat rate flat for anybody and everybody, or you get to a certain point, people would use your services more than others, so it's more expensive, or is it for a CPA, does it generally cost the same no matter who it is?
No, I think every firm probably has a different pricing model, schedule and stuff like that. But, with us, you're on a flat rate. That's your rate. And, fortunately, I think in 7 years, we've written 3 extra bills, and those have all been for things that have been agreed upon in advance. So it's you want to be with somebody where it's a relationship, okay? Mm-hmm. You may use more of my time this month or this year, okay? But next year, maybe you won't use as much time, all right? So I look at it as it's a relationship, and I'm not counting hours. I'm in it for the long run.
Mm-hmm.
One of the big topics on minds of brand new dentists or fairly new dentists is loan debt. I think the last time I looked was the average is like $260,000 coming out of dental school of loan debt. And it causes people who might purchase a practice at some point, causes them to go into, say, corporate dentistry or become an associate to try to start making money to pay off loans. And so I feel like sometimes people can shy away from ownership because of the amount of loan debt that they have. Would you say from a tax perspective that trying to become an owner is actually better in the long run for paying off loan debt? Or, do you have an opinion one way or the other on that?
Yes. Being a successful owner is definitely going to enable you to pay that loan off faster, and it's going to give you better cash flow. You're going to be able to write things off that guy that's a W-2 employee is not able to write off. So if you're willing to, make the sacrifices that you make as a business owner, and not everybody really wants to make those sacrifices.
So what would you say, give it our audience now, what would you say are some big things of why somebody should choose you versus other CPAs out there? It seems like you're pretty personable, like you're willing to talk to your clients on a monthly basis. You've said that a few times, but obviously you feel like you're better than others out there, and why would that be? And
I guess I belong to what I'll call a select group of CPAs throughout the country who do a lot of tax planning and do a lot of training. And basically we try and help our clients keep more of what they make. So unfortunately, most CPAs out there do a really good job. They put the right numbers in the right boxes. They're compliant, but they're not looking for ways to save their clients, money. And that's at the forefront of everything we do. Every new client starts with a tax plan, and in that tax plan, we're showing them, okay, you could do this, 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 and this is going to save you an extra $20,000 a year by doing this.
Yeah.
I like that approach.
Is it snowing up there lately?
It's cold. It's not snowing, but it's cold. And as a matter of fact, I think it snowed up by Buffalo yesterday. So it's cold.
Yeah, it's warm down here in Tennessee, warmer than that.
Hey, I think it was mid-70s today down here in Florida, just to let you know.
Well, I'm wearing like a little sweatshirt right now, so
it's about the same here in South Georgia. So.
Yeah. Craig, I know that the questions we ask in probably the interview is a little more elementary probably than what you're used to, but I think that's just kind of where we're at this point in our career. I think it was really beneficial. I think a lot of people would take something from this. People are probably going to have questions similar to what we did. Are there ways that people can maybe contact you, get in touch with your office if they're interested?
Yeah, sure. Well, we're going to give you a link. It's craigcodyyandcompany.com/life in dentistry. And that link, they'll have a box, an opt-in box. They could request a copy of our book, paperback. We'll mail that out to them. They could reach me via email, which is craig@ccodycpa.com. And our office number is 516-869-4051. So be glad to answer any questions.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
This, it's like Joe said earlier. I mean, we focus so much on dentistry. I'm a little jealous of people that come out of undergrad and already have like an accounting degree, or they have an MBA or something before they go into dental school, because I just think it helps so much. I wish I would have done that in undergrad and wish I had more of an education, but that's why we got guys like you out there to help us out.
Right, and just remember where you make your money. You don't make your money doing the books and doing tax returns.
No, we don't.
So, and it's always important, I think.
All right, everyone. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your day to listen to the show. We hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to follow our journey through Life in Dentistry on social media. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Life in Dentistry, and on Twitter at Life in Dent. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel. Just search for Life in Dentistry. Also, we would love for you all to leave us a review on whatever platform it is you listen to the show on. If you like what we're doing and you get a benefit out of the show, this is a way for you all to help us to continue to do what we love to do. Again, if you have any questions for us, you can send us an email to lifeanddentistry@gmail.com, or you can find us at www.lifeanddentistry.com. Again, thank you all for tuning into the show, because we cannot do this without you. And like always, we'll catch you next time.